Hey everybody, how you doing? It's Peter here, and it's time for the 68th episode of the PDG Advertising Podcast. It is a sunny day in Northern Ireland on this was a bank holiday week. I don't even know what date it is. I know what day it is, which is good. It is Thursday, which is Creative Thursday at PDG, and I'm looking forward to guiding you through our 68th episode of the PDG Advertising Podcast today. As always, everyone, thank you so much for your listens, your kind comments, your shares, just the time that you're taking to listen to the PDG Advertising Podcast. It's really appreciated. I've had a fair amount of feedback across the last month since the PDG Advertising Podcast episode 67, and some people seem to kind of like it, which is great. All two of you, and we look forward to creating more. And you know, if there's anything you ever want to hear on the podcast, or you want to be on the podcast, or you have any feedback or advice for it, would love to hear it. So thanks again for listening, and let's get into it. I tell you what, we've got something that's really exciting coming up at PDG Advertising. We are recruiting for our next team member. This team member will be. Let me take you on a bit of a journey. We at PDG Advertising do things a little bit differently. So our structure is very flat. Anybody can really talk to anybody about anything. So your role might not be very specific to one area of digital advertising. It'll all fall under the umbrella of digital advertising, but you won't necessarily be doing the same thing in fact, you're guaranteed not to be doing the same thing every day. And that's on purpose, because what we're trying to do here is we're trying to create a hive of smart creatives who are able to problem solve and drive results for our clients. And the results are always need to be the same, you know, leads or sales. But what I've found over the past number of years is that the journey to those results can change. You know, you look at the recent iOS updates and all of those things. Some platforms falling in and out of favor, you know, Twitter becoming less relevant and then more relevant in recent times, TikTok coming on the scene, the rise and fall of Snapchat. All of those things that have happened over time mean that it takes an agile team working together to deliver exceptional results for our customers. So what we're looking for is another digital advertising associate. It's very exciting for PDG Advertising that we can advertise this position. We've got, you know, myself, who looks after our direction and firefighting and making sure that we're on track strategically. There is Anthony, our first employee, who is our digital advertising associate with a design specialism. So each of our team members, we all have a certain kind of skill set, and we maybe specialize in one particular area. And Anthony's is in design, and interestingly, that combination of being a problem solver and being able to create beautiful designs for the digital world has landed Anthony with an absolute expertise in email marketing, which is awesome. So we didn't know that that's how this was going to end up, but it just so has happened that is how it has worked out. And what it means is that Anthony will be, you know, pressing the button go on 500,000 emails per week. It's quite incredible. So that's Anthony's side. And then you've got Nicole, our second employee, and Nicole's is a digital advertising associate with an account management focus. So her focus is on making sure we do what we say we're going to do and looking after our clients to the, best of our ability collectively. And Nicole's outstanding at it, smoothly looking after customers and making sure they're getting what they need and anticipating what they need before they need it. So the structure that we have here is that we're selecting people, based on digital advertising skills, but also with something extra that they can bring in and kind of own within PDG advertising. And this new role is all about pay-per-click advertising, Facebook ads and Google ads. So what this person's day-to-day will look like is managing, creating, optimizing, and looking after digital advertising campaigns on Facebook and Google for customers all over the world. It is literally the cutting edge of communication between customers and their desired customers. It's an interesting kind of turn of phrase because we look after our customers, so we connect our customers with their customers. So what this role will be doing is looking after those platforms to make sure we're using them to the best effect. Now, it definitely needs someone who is, experienced in marketing. There's no doubt about that. It doesn't necessarily need someone that has a whole lot of experience on the Facebook and Google ad platforms. We can teach that. If you're in any way savvy about marketing and you care about results and you care about doing a great job, then we'd love to hear from you. And equally, if you're listening to the PDG Advertising Podcast and you think you have someone in your network that would be great for this job, then head on over to pdgadvertising.com/jobs and you will get right to a job description and an application area right at the bottom. So wanted to let you guys know that and let you know that we're open for applications now. This application process will run for about 3 weeks and we're really looking forward to seeing who applies, and good luck to you if you wish to apply, and bonus points if you mention about this PDG Advertising Podcast in your interview. So we did a little post last week about how much to spend on online advertising when you're just starting out with online advertising. And at some point, everyone is just starting out with online advertising. And a lot of times we get asked, how much should I spend on my Facebook ads or on my Google ads? And like all good questions and all good wonderings, it depends on where you are in your journey. So let's flip to the far end right now. And if you're currently doing ads on, let's say, Facebook, for example, and for every pound you spend, you're making £10 back, I would suggest that you're probably not spending enough, that you should probably be putting your foot to the floor a little bit on the ads and on the budget to increase your spend, because anything that you can put in £1 and get £10 back on, or $1 and $10 back on, I don't think you're spending enough and probably not getting as much revenue as you can. There's a lot of considerations. Do you have the manpower? Do you have the products? Can you manufacture fast enough to get your products out to people? Is your supply chain right? All of those things. But if all of those things are right and everything is going well and you're kind of quiet and you're spending $1 and you're making $10, then awesome. Now, that's not where most people are. Most people are struggling to break even on their advertising spend. And if that's where you are, then I'm going to bring us right back to the start of the majority of people who, don't really know what to do, want to get started, know they can do something, see other people doing it, and want to get in front of their target market. And my suggestion is that you only spend at most about £30 per day on your online ads, or maybe, $40 per day on your online advertising, because you hear of these companies and these firms saying you have to spend $5,000 a week or $1,000 or £1,000 a day on ads, and I don't believe it at all. I think you have to build up to that. I think to get started with, the platforms are that smart that you can, you have to spend a little bit of money to make money. You have to speculate to accumulate. I think is the correct phrase. But I wouldn't spend, and we never, for customers, it doesn't matter what size they are, Fortune 500 to the corner shop, we don't spend more than about £30 per day on any given advert or campaign, because you would be the best marketer in the world, you'd be the best advertiser in the world and the best business owner if you were able to guess what was going to work correctly. You won't be able to do that. You'll have to test. You'll have to go through a period of testing, and it makes me smile a lot of the time whenever we get customers legitimately coming up to us and saying, well, how long before I see a return? Will I see a return in a week, or will I see a return in a month? And honestly, the answer is it depends, and it can take half a year before you see a consistent level of profit and revenue coming in to the business. Other times, you can hit it quite quickly, and you can figure out that combination of creative and targeting options and your landing page and all of those different variables. But sometimes you can hit it quite well, quite quickly, and through the guidance of people who have done it before, it's always going to be quicker. Having said that, no one can predict what a market is going to do. No one can predict that this combination of advert setup will generate this amount of revenue. It all takes time. It all takes patience. And that's why you don't blow your budget at the start. And you should keep it to a relatively small budget of, no more than £30 per day. Even bring it back if you want. Bring it back to £5-10 so you can figure out what's working. Now, as you do that and you figure out what gains you the most clicks or what gets you in front of the most people in your target market, that's when I suggest opening up a little bit more, because there is an intricacy with the algorithms on the ad platforms where you need a little bit of kick to get in front of more people than the other people that are advertising. And my guess is that it takes around £30 to get in front of enough people to start to make sales of your product on these online platforms. But yeah, no more than £30. And then whenever you start to see success, that's when to start to double down. And look, I think we'll do a segment about scaling your adverts whenever you see that they are working. I thought I'd take a moment and get a little bit technical on the PDG Advertising Podcast today. The world of Facebook advertising has been rocked in the last 3 weeks, I would say. And it's all been about the iOS 14.5 update. So at the recent Apple Nerd Fest, it's the thing where all the Apple people go to and they announce the new things that, it started with Steve Jobs and his announcing of new features on Macs and cameras, culminating in the iPhone and the iPad, and now these nerd fests, geek fests as I call them, and I'm allowed to call them that because I am a nerd myself. I am one of us. And now these things are now, like, if you're a regular listener to the PDG Advertising Podcast, you will know that I do not have any love for Apple products. I find them offensive at best. I think they look beautiful, but in terms of their usability, I don't think it's there at all. And I don't think it's possible to be as effective as you can be on them. And my scorn towards them is even heightened whenever, one, they're coming to, I was going to say coming to Jesus moment every year where they do this. I don't know if that's the right terminology, but where they do this thing where they announce their upcoming technology and things that are happening. And this year's was, one of the highlights was where it's like AirTag, and if I've got this wrong, correct me in the comments 100%, but I think that it's where it's like Find My Phone technology that's been about without having to add any other technology, anywhere. I suppose if you lose your bag or your guitar or your TV or something like that, then you can add a tag and your phone will tell you where it is. But I'm sure that technology's been around for a long time, and I don't see how useful it is. I could be wrong, it could be proved wrong, but that's what I saw it as. And then number two, where they've announced a rollout that we knew was coming for about a year, maybe half a year, of iOS 14.5, and one of the updates in the operating system 14.5 was that people would have to opt in to being tracked. And whenever I heard about that, I thought, well, nobody's going to opt in to being tracked. And what the effective in practice situation now is that tracking on ads is a little bit worse because so many people use iPhones, and if you're purchasing things on an iPhone, now it's made a little bit difficult for us advertisers to see that you've purchased or to see that you've been to a web page. So it's harder for us to retarget you with that pair of shoes that you wanted to buy on Amazon or other places. Other massive marketplaces are available, and that's what effectively was announced, that was being rolled out. And since then it has been rolled out, or supposedly has been rolled out. But myself and a number of other marketers, quite heavy Facebook ad users, have seen little to no impact. In fact, we've actually seen better stats since the rollout. So tracking seems to be better. It could be that it's not fully rolled out, but I'm getting more and more skeptical of our need for privacy, because I've also been talking to some people who are heavy iPhone users, and they're saying that they're opting into tracking. I did not see that coming, but now that I think about it, the amount of things that get put in front of us these days, terms and conditions and all sorts of things on the internet, goodness knows what we're actually signing up to. So I now can recognize that privacy is that unimportant to a lot of us. And again, correct me if I'm wrong. If you really care about privacy, then let me know. But I think my eyes and ears tell me something different, because between TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, our whole lives are being documented on the internet, and there is no privacy anymore. There is zero privacy, and I don't think anybody cares about privacy, or at least the majority of people don't care about privacy. But I'm absolutely open to being wrong about that, and would love you to comment and let me know what you think. Goodness knows what I'm letting myself in for with that one. But that has happened on Facebook ads. The whole of Facebook thought it was going to be a complete disaster. We were inundated with messages from Facebook reps saying, let's talk about this, let's make sure you're prepared. This is very surprising, because we usually don't care about preparing you for anything, and very unhelpful. But this time they were, and I don't know whether we were just prepared or what, but it looks to me like this has moved past a stage of panic, and tracking is probably going to be fine. We're probably still going to be able to track people throughout the internet. So just so you know, all is well in Facebook advertising land. And once again, just to repeat, people don't care about privacy. I think while it's in my head, I'd really like to do a little piece about how to scale adverts. Been doing this for a while now, and by this I mean online advertising, and by a while I mean 10 years plus. So you'd like to think that we had some success somewhere and been able to scale it for someone, and rest assured we have, and we do. And there's two things that come to mind. One is leads, being able to acquire leads for an appropriate cost. So that's one. And then number two is sales, being able to generate sales for an appropriate cost. We'll go with the easy one first, leads. So customers of ours who, you can make it really, really simple. If you have a landing page and people can sign up to learn more about your business, and for you to, get back to them at a certain point, then we drive people to that page, Whenever we can get to a point where a lead generates a wildly high amount of revenue for a business, then it's happy days and it's great. But there's certain levels, so you'll maybe spend, as I said before, let's say £30, and if you generate 2 leads from that £30 on a day, and each lead costs £15. You didn't think you were going to get a math lesson. And if you didn't think you were going to get a math lesson, you didn't think you were going to get a math lesson from me. If you know me, you know that I don't do very well at maths. I'm mathematically dyslexic. If that's a thing, I am definitely it. But let's say $15 or £15 per lead, but the lifetime value of your customer is only £7. Then you're spending double the amount of money that you'll ever get back. Never mind profit, never mind anything like that. So that's a bad place to be. A real life example of a customer of ours in the US who gathers leads for, we gather leads for around about $3 per lead. And the lifetime value of the customer is somewhere around the region of $15. All small numbers, very high volume customer. So that works out wonderfully because it's just like, printing money at this stage. But what we now have to be careful of is if we increase our budget too much. So here's where I bring it back to scaling. So if we want to scale that, because if things are going well, you want to get more, you want to spend more money. But what can happen is, and what happens a lot is advertisers try to scale too quickly. There's a rhythm to it that you need to get into, and it's scale up by no more than 20% in a 24-hour period. Do not scale up again for another 2 days. Leave it 48 hours and make sure that what happened before scaling is still happening after scaling after 2 days. If you immediately double your budget, and it doesn't matter if you are only spending £1 per day and you double it to 2, don't do that. You'd be better to cancel the whole campaign. And if you're at that low level, cancel the campaign, put it up to £5 per day or something like that, and then start to scale up. If you're spending £100 per day and you double it to 200, you could break the whole algorithm, break the whole campaign. I don't know why that is. I'm gonna have to find that out because it's a really curious thing. You would think you could just spend more and get in front of more people. It's not how it works. You can break your whole ads by doing that on all of the platforms. So best to just move up by 20% per day and monitor it. It could just come down to looking after things properly, looking at it correctly and taking your time and keeping an eye on it. So that could be it. So that's it for leads. If your leads are coming in at the same price before, then happy days. You're going in the right direction. For sales, exactly the same thing. So if your ROAS, and ROAS is the guiding light, the North Star metric for us at PDG in terms of e-commerce and sales, where, if it's we use like 3 times. We usually know if a customer is at 3 times ROAS, it's going well. If they're at 5, it's better. That's what we kind of aim for. If it's more than 5, I don't think we're spending enough on the ads, but there's a number of factors around that. Having said all of that, we usually have, if a customer is at 3 or above in terms of ROAS, return on ad spend, which means if you spend £1, you make £3 back. We think it's time to start moving the needle up and scaling up. So what we do there is, again, 20% increase. If you're spending £100 per day, we move up to 120, and we do not touch it for another 2 days to make sure things are going in the right direction. What I find is that at times, whenever you increase the budget, things go a little bit off, even with just that 20%. So you have to really look into your ads then and remove any ones that aren't working so well, so that the ones that are working can breathe with that more budget in there. Some things that I've picked up. There are other ways to scale too. You can add in additional ad sets or add in additional ads. A lot of what I'm saying here, really, it's the Facebook advertising, but a lot of the ad systems are very similar. They have that, campaign set, ad set, or ad targeting, or keywords if you're on Google Ads, and then down to the ads. But the general principle in these two scenarios for leads and for sales is increase by 20% and don't touch it for 2 days, but monitor it and watch what's going on before you make the decision to scale up again. So everyone, thanks very much for listening. That was the PDG Advertising Podcast, episode 68. And remember, we are recruiting for our next digital advertising associate with a pay-per-click focus. Head on over to pdgadvertising.com/jobs and you'll be able to apply. Or if you know someone that might be interested in working with us, let them know, let us know. And also, it would mean the world if you were to share this podcast or comment or like or subscribe on YouTube, whatever it is that feels right for you. And I look forward to us connecting in the future. And I hope that someday you will come on to the podcast to talk to me about something digital advertising related, business related, or something that's of interest to you. So have a great day, week, month, year, and we'll talk to you soon.